folks, welcome and happy new year. Matt Easton here. First of all, I hope you had a good end of 2016 and here's to 2017. Let's hope it'll be a great year. For you personally, well, for everybody, let's hope. But for the channel, definitely I'm intending to do lots more videos this year. You know, another 1,000 videos or something. I don't know how many videos I'll do this year, but hopefully it'll be another good year for the channel, and thank you again for all of your support in the last year. It was a big one. I think I hit 100,000 subscribers last year, so it was a good one. And I got this thing from YouTube. Thank you, YouTube. But anyway, to a topic, rather than just wittering on about the new year, and a topic that came up at the end of last year was I showed this Japanese tanto. Some people said it might not be a tanto, that it might be something else. I've actually been told that it could be various things, but anyway, let's call it a knife, a Japanese knife. But the part that I want to talk about is, so you'll see here between the silk braid there is this knobbly surface that on modern replicas is often made of plastic, unfortunately, but on the original antiques is made of a form of, well, it is made of fish skin, and it's knobbly and gives really good texture. It's quite pretty to look at. It's usually white on the Japanese swords. Not always, it can be dyed, but usually white. And it's quite rough, and like I say, knobbly. And essentially, I mentioned that I described it as shark skin, and someone corrected me, goes, actually, I think you'll find it's ray skin. Well, rays and sharks are from the same family. You can wiki it, you can look it up on Google, but actually I couldn't honestly say whether that is ray skin, shark skin, or some other member of that family skin, because it looks the same. Okay, and the reason I know that is because European swords often have the same thing. If I just grab a European sword here, and this is shagreen, as it's normally known, and it is shark skin or ray skin, who knows. It looks pretty much similar. Now there are some differences that you find between these two types of skin, but I will tell you it comes down to essentially colour, which it can be dyed various colours, and the texture of the nodules. Now those nodules, let's talk about those for a minute. They vary in size. This is fairly small nodules and fairly smooth. The Japanese grip there was fairly rough, but that's not to say there's a difference between European swords and Japanese swords based on the type of ray skin or shark skin that they use on the grips. That's not the case at all. In fact, you can find ray or shark skin or shagreen, as we saw there on the Japanese grip. You can find it on European swords right the way from the 17th century, perhaps earlier. I've only seen it on 17th century swords, is the earliest I've seen it, onwards, and in fact most famously so, at least famously to antique sword collectors, on Royal Navy swords. So British naval swords use a white, bigger nodule type of skin. And quite simply, if you kill a shark, and I don't recommend you do that for various reasons, but if you kill a shark and harvest its skin, you will find, I believe, that the nodules are different sizes on different parts of its body. So you don't necessarily have to get bigger or smaller nodules from different fish. It could be that you're just using a different bit of that fish's skin. Now, why did they use it? Well, very importantly, for grip. Okay, it gives, actually, if I pick up a different example here, so this again is a British sword. This is a rifle regiment sword, as it happens, quite an early Wilkinson, pre-numbered, and you'll notice it's much darker on this one. Now, I believe this is because they dyed these black. So when these swords were new, the grips were pretty much black, but over time that black kind of wears off. First it goes to this kind of dark blue colour that we've currently got here, and then it goes to a sort of greyish colour there, and essentially it gets lighter and lighter, and it ends up being light grey. So, but most of them started off black, but as mentioned, the Royal Naval swords and some other swords from other countries as well started off other colours. The naval swords are usually white, in fact very similar to what we see there in the gap of the Japanese tanto hilt that you would also find on katanas and tashi and other Japanese swords and knives. Now, so you can dye it. Why do you have it there? Essentially because it provides a really good grip. Now, it is notable that some people, and it depends on the nodule size, some people find those grips quite rough on their hands to hold. Two things I'd mention on that. Number one, it's better to have a rough grip that you don't drop the weapon, rather than having a grip that feels lovely to hold, and then when you try and use it, or when it gets slippery with blood or sweat or rain or whatever, mud, that then you lose your grip on the sword. The most important thing is to retain your grip on the weapon. That's the first thing. The second thing is, historically, people probably had rougher hands than most of the people watching this video, and certainly than I have. I spend most of my time sitting in a computer, as a lot of people watching this video will do as well, and so we have pretty soft hands. If you've got rougher hands, then clearly you can hold rougher substances and it's not going to bother you so much. The third thing is that very often, certainly in Europe, people using these swords would have had gloves on, sometimes cloth, sometimes leather. And if you're wearing gloves, actually it's easier to lose your grip on the weapon with, for example, leather grips. So if you are likely to be wearing gloves, it's better to have a really rough grip than a grip that feels nice in your bare hands. It's better to have a rougher grip, which actually provides a better bind to the leather gloves or cloth gloves that you might be wearing. The last thing to say, certainly about European type swords like these, is that they weren't always intended to be gripped in the form that you currently see them in that if we come to John Musgrave Waite again, the treatise that I mostly teach from, and this is an original copy from 1880, one of my prized possessions, and he has some interesting nuggets of information to say about that. He says that when you're going on active service, rather than just having the bare grip with the shagreen, with the shark skin that we've just seen, what you can do instead is get waxed cord and actually wrap it around the grip. And he says there's two advantages to this. Number one, it gives you a firmer grip on the sword. Again, it goes back to what I was saying, it's very important to keep a good grip on your weapon, so to speak. But additionally, when you're wrapping that grip, you can also alter the grip shape slightly. So whereas at the moment we've got a fairly regulation shape, a relatively straight grip, sometimes with the earlier ones a bit bulged here, and then this sort of pommel spur kicking out here. If you wanted for some reason to increase the thickness at the back of the grip, maybe if you use your thumb up to stop it ramming into the guard when you thrust and run someone through, or if you wanted to expand the size of the pommel slightly, which makes certain types of cuts, kind of flicking cuts, a little bit better. Whatever you want to do, if you've just got a bigger hand or a smaller hand, or if you want to change the shape of the grip, you can do that when you're wrapping the cord by putting things under the cord. So, a small sliver of wood or some more cord or whatever, just build up the cord in that area. So there we go. So shagreen, so that's spelled S-H-A-G-R-E-E-N, shagreen. As it's often known in the antique collecting community, shagreen or shark skin or ray skin was used all over the world for grips on knives and swords, most famously so on Japanese weapons and on British military weapons. Some other European nations used it as well. Belgium used it sometimes, for example, Spain sometimes, Portugal sometimes, and it provides a really good grip, but sometimes if it's larger nodules feels quite rough to the hand. But remember, your hands are quite soft for the most part, and you might be using that sword with gloves, so you want it to be rough, and better to have a slightly uncomfortable grip and one that you're less likely to drop. Cheers, folks. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, follow us on Facebook. You can buy t-shirts through Spreadshirt, support us on Patreon, or follow us on Pinterest. Thank you.